stagnant. May Allah reward you.
What's my view, my take when there are no scholars in the West? I feel this statement is often used to keep communities stagnant. May Allah reward you. May Allah reward you as well. I don't think my opinion or my view is going to change anything. People who study with high ambitions, with high aspirations, who want to be something, who want to do something, who want to go further and take knowledge and dawah and Islam in America to the next level, they're going to do it, whether I say it or not. And people who have low ambitions, low aspirations, no intention of taking Islam and the Muslims to the next level, they're pleased with what they have. They're pleased with the level that they're at. They're not going to stop being that way if I what? Say something. It's just that simple. Everybody understand this? We've spoken on this issue many, many times before. And there's so many different ways of looking at the issue. Regardless whether you say or you deal with the issue from the concept of what is a scholar, quote unquote. What necessitates a person being a scholar? What does the Quran say about a scholar? What do the hadiths tell us about a scholar? Is there ijma'? Is there consensus? All of the ulama and the salaf as-salih agreed this is the definition of a what? Scholar. هذا حد العالم. هل عندنا هذا? Do we have an ayah? Do we have a hadith? Do we have ijma' of defining who is or what when a person isn't a scholar? If we have that, then it's clear we have to what? Stick with that. وإلا, and if we don't have it, then what? الباب مفتوح للاجتهادات. التقريب. هذا حد العالم، هذا طالب، هذا متمكن، هذا راسخ وإلى آخره. تقريبا ولا تحديدا. ومن الغلط أنك تحمل الناس على اجتهادك وعلى تقريبك أنت قربت وأنا قل لا ما أوافق. لا عليك لا تلزمني أنت باجتهادك وتقريبك أنت. تعريفك قد لا يكون إيش؟ تعريفي أنا. If there's not in the kitab, if it's not in the authentic sunnah, if it's not in the ijma', then it's going to go back to what? Ijtihad. What's similar? What's close? This is an alim, this is a student. Fulan's alim, Fulan's a talib. Da'iyah, or whatever the case may be. Everybody understand this? So if we don't have no specific definition, then you can't force one man to take your view. I feel, someone may say, a scholar is someone who studied formally for 20 years. That's fine. You have your reasons behind you saying that. And the next man says, no, I feel 15 years. The man who says 20 cannot force what? The man who says what? 15. Why can't he force him? Because there's no what? Kitab, Sunnah, or Ijma'. There's no of those three golden things. So therefore, it's going to be an issue of coming as close as possible, figuring it out. Some people, they say that a sheikh or an alim is someone who knows most of the issues. He's aware of most of the issues of Islam. Others, they say, an alim or sheikh is someone man shahida lahu al-mashayikh wal ulama. Or those people that the ulama and the mashayikh bear witness to and testify to that fulan alim, fulanun min al-mashayikh. Everybody got this? Obviously, these two things, neither of the two are in the kitab and the sunnah. Neither of the two are in the ijma'. These are also what? Ijtihad, taqreeb, making it close. So, some brothers, they run with this. They say, fulan's not a scholar because the scholars have not testified to him being a scholar. Pump the brakes. First and foremost is, how can you say what the scholars haven't done? Have you sat with all of the scholars? Have you learned with all of them? You didn't even go overseas. You don't even know Arabic. Talking about what the scholars said. You're reading a translation of a translator whose integrity, whose skill, whose qualifications is at best average. Everybody understand this? So you don't know what the scholars have said. If you do speak Arabic, you have been overseas, you haven't studied with all of the scholars. So you can't say what the scholars have said and what they haven't said. You can say those scholars that I don't know. It isn't well known to this group of scholars, to this country, to these people who follow this one and that one, this group, this clique or clique. Everybody got this? Let alone the fact that you can argue at that point. There are people that are tullab al-ilm. If you ask them about fara'id, rules of inheritance, tafsir, aqidah, zuhd, Ibn Kathir, Qurtubi, they could do what? يجيبك بسهولة. They can answer the question. and he's a student, didn't graduate yet. Now what? And there are other people that are called scholars. They have the title, Sheikh Alim. You ask them a certain question, it says, let me get back to you. Or, the people, we've seen this with our own eyes, scholars, quote unquote, they'll sit down and they'll sift through the questions. They'll tell you, don't ask any questions. Sift through, I need to look at it first. Then what? This is reality. You know, I'm not making this up. This is a what? It's reality. So that rule and that standard is not what? It's not absolute. It can go more than one what? More than one way. Let alone when we start talking about Islam and dawah and madhab al-salaf and manhaj al-salaf and so on and so forth. I don't want to say this openly. I don't really, honestly don't care if anyone gets upset. I'm going to speak my mind. Inshallah, Allah forgive me if I'm wrong. Many of us, we become bewildered from our original language and culture. We become far from the original reality. You go overseas, you study, and you forget that before you are a student of knowledge and this and that, you're an American. You're British, you're Canadian. Pay close attention, don't rush, okay? Nothing to do with Jahiliyyah, but this is where you're from. In your land of America, New York City, Canada, UK, you have a what? A language. You have a culture. What does the word scholar mean in your language? What does the word scholar mean in your culture? If you look up the definition of a scholar, they're going to give you the following definition. Number one, it's someone who has a what? High degree in a field. Someone who has a what? A high degree. That's in the English language. Number two, they say someone who's studious, who's pious, who's quiet, nerdy, geeky. He's not a fighter. He's not a ladies' man. He's a what? A scholar. In other words, I have 3 sons. This son is an athlete. He's a what? He's an athlete. He's naturally muscular. He's naturally agile. He can play basketball, football, boxing. He's an athlete. I have another son who's smooth. He's a ladies' man. He's handsome. He's naturally got charisma, gift of the gab. Girls like him by nature. And then my third son is what? He's a little skinny. He's a little frail. He wears big glasses. He devours books. He reads books all day. I say my third son is a what? What are you going to call him? You're going to call him a scholar. My third son is a what? Scholar. And then later on I have another son. He's a fighter by nature. He has a hot temper. He's quick with his hands. He's a what? He's a fighter. This one is a businessman. Everybody understand this? The personality of a person. Everybody got this? So if you apply the first definition, and because we know people want to say other things, we want to get there. أن الحقيقة الشرعية مقدمة على الحقيقة اللغوية العرفية. هل هناك حقيقة شرعية للعالم أصلا؟ عرفت؟ قد بينا أنه ليس في الكتاب ولا سنة ولا إيش؟ إجماع. حتى لا يستعجل عليه ويقول حقيقة شرعية مقدمة على الحقيقة اللغوية العرفية. ليس هناك إيش؟ حقيقة شرعية أصلا. يعني واضحا بينا. كيف? So in the language, someone who has a high degree in a field. Brother Fulan graduated from Azhar. He graduated from Medina and he has a PhD. So in the English language, in the English culture, the man is called a what? Scholar. Without a doubt. If you get into Arabic, overseas, Islam. We're talking about the language and the culture. Someone who's nerdy, who studies, who reads, who's very intelligent, very bright. He's going to linguistically be called a what? A scholar. So we have a brother who's been overseas. He studied in South Africa for 7 years. He has thick glasses. He has a bunch of books that he's read. He's a bookworm. Linguistically and culturally, we're going to call him a what? A what? A scholar. Ever got this? Now someone is going to say, well, Yaqi, this is from you deceiving the people, tricking the people, and mixing the truth with the falsehood. And that is because the Islamic definitions take precedence over the linguistical definitions. The Islamic definitions, the Sharia definitions, take precedence over the cultural definitions. Tayyib, we agree with that point, theoretically. Is there a clear and distinct Islamic definition of a scholar? Yes or no? We've already proven that there's no Quran and no verse in the Quran that says what? This is a what? Scholar. There's no authentic hadith that I've read, Allahu Alam, that says this is the definition of a what? Scholar. Nor is there ijma', consensus that this is the definition of a what? Of a scholar. So therefore it's going to go back to the what? The ijtihad of the people. So this person may be called a scholar, and I call this person student. I feel that this guy here is sharp. He's strong. And the proof that he's sharp and the proof that he's strong, listen to him speak, listen to him talk, listen to his classes, read his books. Look at his credentials, look at his academics. If he's young, old, and I'm going to say this too, people get offended or not, if he's black or white or Arab or not, because that's another issue. Not pretending to people who have extremism, but people who have racism and prejudice and colorism. This Arab person is a scholar. Person from the ghetto, black, he's a student of knowledge. All right, this is a reality among many people, unfortunately. Person's white, he's what? He's a scholar. Latino, Hispanic, he's what? He's a studious brother. This when we say, Hafidhullah, may Allah preserve him. And this when we say what? Wafaqahullah. May Allah give him success. This is a reality that happens on a daily basis. So if there's no clear-cut definition of what is a scholar, it goes back to the what? Ijtihad of the people. Your ijtihad could be better, mine could be better, etc. So let's just stop and let's ask a few questions. The first question is, why do people make that statement there are no scholars in the West? Do they really say that because they're sincere and they feel that there are no scholars in the West? Or is there another reason? We'll get there. The second question is, one of the largest continents in the world is what? The continent of what? North America, including Canada, America, Central America, Mexico, etc. Right? Now, that's only one part of the West. Then we have the European continent. Then we have the other European countries that are not that are off of the continent, such as the islands, UK, Scotland, Ireland. That's also considered from the what? The West. It's West. France, Germany, Belgium, Czech Republic, it's all what? West. South Africa is considered what? The Western country in general. Australia is considered what? The West. So how many continents did we just mention?
4.
How many people live in those continents?
Billions.
How many Muslims, non-Muslims? How many babies are born? How many women are married? How many women are divorced? How many halal butcher shops? How many schools, madrasas, duksis, madrasas? How many people live in those continents? And there isn't what? One scholar among them. Not one. Honestly, just think about it. Adam, هل يدخل رأسك أنت؟ يدخل رأسك؟ أكيد. Just does that make any sense? You're talking about millions of people and there's not one what? One scholar. Rather, there are students of knowledge among them, and their job is to connect these people, millions and billions of people, with the scholars who live in a specific, restricted region of the world. Wallahi, people who think and talk like this, there are. And one brother he said, Allah's my witness, I'm not lying on a brother. He said, isn't it sufficient for the people to have students of knowledge and they can call the scholars and teach them? Australia, Canada, UK, 50-something states in America, South Africa, all of these countries. What happens if they all call a sheikh at the same time? What happens if it's an 8-hour time difference or 12-hour time difference? What happens, Nizam? Or what about if it's an issue that scholar, without no disrespect, does not properly understand and conceptualize because he's from a different country? Then what happens? So Allah Azza wa Jalla, Al-Ghafur Ar-Rahim, Wasi'at Rahmati Kulli Shay, most merciful, he left all of these families, people at the hands of brothers who went overseas, dropped out of school, learned the language program, barely studied, barely passed, for them to translate their questions and call scholars in 1 or 2 or 3, 4, 5 countries. Wallahi, if you think like that, that's madness. That's madness. That does not make sense. Not in Islam. That's not a way of life for a person to think like that. Everybody in these countries is to refer their affairs to a select, chosen amount of men. Make sense, Yusuf? So just think about that, inshallah. Hopefully the answer will become clear to you. What is a scholar? Who is a scholar? And why are there no scholars in the West? If you make that statement, don't worry about the Kitab and the Sunnah. Don't worry about this problem, that problem. Go to the Jamia Islamiyya in Medina. Go to the president. Go to the teachers. Go to all of the mashayikh that have been teaching there for 20, 30, 40 years. Go to them and say, out of the last 30 years, All of the scholarships that you've given to British students, Canadian students, American students, all of the millions, if not billions of dollars that Saudi Arabia has spent, you haven't produced one scholar. And see the facial expression of those teachers, of those scholars, of those principals. Wallahi, go to them and say that to them. 30 years of students from America is not what one? Not one scholar. You didn't produce a scholar. Millions of dollars that you spent. You didn't produce what? One scholar. Just think about that. Wallahu alam.